Well, welcome to Old Classic Car and this 6th instalment of original photographs of British cars of the 1950s and 1960s. And in this set, most of the photos have kindly been sent over by visitors and viewers to the Old Classic Car channel and website. And to begin with, Robert Meeking sent this photo over, the first of several. The photo was actually taken by his father of a fantastic little Ford Thames 400e Ford Control panel van in the livery of Frank Wigglesworth & Co Limited of Shipley in Yorkshire. This was taken for an advertisement for the local newspaper. Next up, one of Trevor Bennett's submissions, and he kindly sent this photo over from Solihull in the early 1960s. This is an early Austin A35 van. It's an A35 because of the painted grille, and it's an early one because it still has the semaphore pop-up indicators just visible there behind the front door. Next up, one of Steve Saunders' pictures, and Morris 1100 has made a slightly unfortunate acquaintance with a brick wall. Somewhat mashed up at the front there, and also in view we've got a Hillman Minx, a Ford Anglia 105e and a little Ford 100e estate car in the distance there. It could be the Squire or the Escort. Another of Robert's photos now, and this was taken by his father at the local photography club one evening, and a young lady posed with a Mark I Mini 3400WX. That's a Yorkshire West Riding number from August 1960. To North Wales, and a wonderful colour photo here again from Trevor Bennett. This is Conway Castle. In the foreground is a Morris Cowley SNC 283. That's a Manchester registration from October 1955 onwards. And this photo was taken in August of 1962. And on the same day, I think, was this photograph of the quayside at Conway also. Some nice little cars there. There's a Morris van, minor van, and a minor tourer. Various other cars and little vans shot in the distance. And we're overlooking Digamwe on the other side of the estuary there. Next up, a photo of Roberts. This is a Wolseley 444, I think, and a Ford Pop 103E. This was taken in Shipley on Whit Monday, a Whit Monday walk, in the early 1960s, I believe. Lovely old photograph here, colour photograph. We've got MLJ 604 and Morris Minor Tourer. That's circa 1952. That's the Kylesku Ferry. This scene was taken in 1962. This is up in the Scottish Highlands. The Moggy looks like it's had a few years under its belt. A very rusty back bumper. Another of Robert's photos here. He was given a little box Brownie camera very early in his childhood, and he went around photographing every car he could see. And here we've got a side view of a Humber Sceptre. Great stuff. Thanks to Graham for this particular photo. We've got KFB 576, that's a Morris Minor Series 2, and that's a Bath registration series introduced in August of 1959. In the photo we've got Graham's dad, his mum and his sister. And the photo was taken on a 1960 box Brownie. This is one of the few photos from my own collection in this particular video. We've got a standard Vanguard, a Vignale no less, a two-tone revised version of the Phase 3 Vanguard. Excellent. Is that Captain Mannering on the right? Another of Robert's photos now from his childhood, and we've got a front three-quarter view of an Austin A40 Farina Mark II. Two-tone car. The early cars had the 948cc engine, and that was later switched to the 1098cc unit. Here's a wonderful photo. Colin kindly sent this one over and permitted it to be used here. HXR 526. It's actually a 1946 Lee Francis 14 horsepower saloon, and the location is the A93 close to the Devil's Elbow. What a great photograph that is. Back up to Scotland, we've got a Humber in the foreground here, 374 KTB, a Super Snipe, and the location is, of course, the Firth of Forth, and the date is 1962. This MO has been on the website before, but this shows it camping. So this is a very rare MO Traveller, kitted out with camping in mind. There's a dog in the foreground there, great little roof rack on the roof there, Such a rare sight now. Are there any MO travellers still around, I wonder? Back to Robert's snapshots, and we've got an Austin A60 Cambridge here. This was the 1622 B series powered car of the mid-1960s. Now, Trevor kindly sent over these 3 photographs featuring Austin A70 Herefords. This first photo in Australia is Malden, the main street. The date is 21st of July 1966. A very sleepy looking town. Another A70, I believe, also sent in by Trevor, and this is the Bonang Highway. Got a rear view of the little Austin parked at the side of the road here. There's another view of the same car. XB156 is the registration, and this is Crib Point. Date is 1962, and this is in Victoria, Australia, looking out to sea. HAN 817 is a Ford Zephyr 6, the Mark I car. Very nice it is too. The London series 1954 is the date of that particular car. Thanks to Tony for that photograph. Very period looking roof rack on the top of it. SPY 969. That registration puts the car as Yorkshire North Riding sometime after May of 1958, and the car is an MG Magnet ZB Saloon, and there's a Mark III Zephyr alongside it. Thanks to Mike for this particular photograph, and this is his Austin A40 Somerset that he owned a little while ago. Looks like a very standard original car. It's got a couple of extra wing mirrors, flashing indicators, but otherwise as BMC built it back in the early 1950s. There's a Renault 12 in the background. Another of Trevor's great photographs here, colour photograph of Hong Kong in November of 1966. Got a little Hillman Minx just visible on the left there behind the Fintail Mercedes, and Morris Minor driving towards us, and behind the Morris is a Thames Trader lorry. Back to Robert and his little box Brownie. 22 APY is a Mark II Jaguar. Whether it's a 2.4, a 3.4 or a 3.8, I really don't know. Lovely little colour photo here from Trevor. This is Dolgelly in North Wales in August of 1962. We've got an A40 Somerset drop head there on the left, quite a rare machine. We've got a Hillman Minx, a standard 10, a Ford Anglia 105E, or possibly the 123E, the Super, and the Farina beyond that. Now, Trevor's in Australia, and we've got a Mark I Morris Mini Minor. It was parked up. I think they were looking at the flooded area in the background at the time, so I thought they'd take a photograph, and I'm glad they did. And I'm really glad that Trevor and everyone else sent over these photos to include in this video on the Old Classic Car channel. And there's another photograph from Trevor of the same Mini. If you've got any photographs like these, original photographs of, say, the 1970s or earlier, and you'd be happy for them to be included in one of these videos, please drop me a line. Robert captured this one in the early 1960s, and the car is a Vauxhall Cresta, one of the PB Crestas, two-tone, six-cylinder car, very comfortable drive. One of Mike's photos now, and this is a side-on view of his old Reliant Supervan 3. Very similar to the Regal, but of course also no windows in the back. Next up in this collection of photographs we have ADX606. Steve sent this one over. It's a Morris 6 circa 1950, that's an Ipswich registration, and that shows his mum and dad stood with the old Morris. Nice little two-tone four-door MG 1100 is next, from 1964, captured on Robert's camera. here back to Australia, another of Trevor's photographs, a rear view of an Austin A30 saloon. It's the AS4 type, I believe. The very first AS3s had the fuel filler cap on the right hand rear wing. As this is on the rear panel, I think it's the revised AS4. What a wonderful photo this is. If you're going to pause the photograph and have a closer look at it, this is probably the one. This is Solihull on the 14th of September 1962, with all manner of classic cars there. Morris Traveller, Zephyr Zodiac, a Mark 1 A40, Triumph Herald Coupe, Morris Minor there as well, and so many others. Another wonderful colour photo here of a Hillman Minx, and the location of this one is Adelaide, Australia in 1966. Left-hand drive, interestingly. Or is it just a photo that's reversed? Anyway, another one of Robert's photos here, the rear three-quarter view of a Triumph Herald 737 EWE. That's a Sheffield series introduced in December of 1962. Quite a distinctive roof rack on that one as well, but does anyone recognise the makes of Caravan that are in the background there? Another wonderful colour photo here. This one's London, of course, Trafalgar Square in London in 1961, and in the foreground we've got a handsome Rover P5B saloon, and behind that a Ford Pop 103E complete with L plate on the grille. Still in London, and another one of Trevor's wonderful old photographs, and we've got Buckingham Palace, of course, and the Jaguar on the left there is on a Mark 7. I'm guessing. I'm not quite sure what the little estate car is further up, so if you've got any idea, please let me know in the comments, and again, let me know in the comments what you think of this particular set of photos in this series. Here's Roberts himself and the family's Austin A30 Cap 64. That's an East Sussex registration introduced in April 1955. It's a four-door Austin A30, so I'd have the 803cc A-Series engine, and a variety of caravans in the background there as well. Another wonderful colour photo now from Trevor. I'm so grateful for everyone sending these photos over. This is Solihull again, the 14th of September 1962. There's an Austin A60 there, an A40 Farina, a Mini, an old Austin Cambridge, all sorts going on there. What a fantastic colour photograph that is. Another one of Robert's great old snapshots here. We've got a Humber Super Snipe Estate, two-tone car, magnificent machine. In the background, XXA25, a Citroen DS. It's an interesting photograph. I'm not sure if technically you should have been taking this, but this was Stamford in 1961. In addition to some Bloodhound missiles, we've got an Austin 152, I think minibus, a little Land Rover, and a couple of Bedford crew buses. Very interesting scene. What's the lorry on the right? Is that a Scammell or a Dennis? Anyway, one of Steve's photos now. VOY 889G. This is his first new car, a 1969 Mini Cooper Mark II. Very smart it is too. Note the extra clip-on rear view mirror to give you a better view out of the back window. What a bonny little car that is. And there it is on the left with its new registration plate, SCS1. Apparently that was taken off a Austin Princess, and it now resides on a 2017 Chevrolet. The car on the right is a Mark III Mini Cooper S. The first of Peter Scott's photos to feature in this particular collection now. A long-term member of the Old Classic Car Forum. He thinks this may have been taken in air, but is not sure. MGA is the car. British registration, but left-hand drive and white wall tyres. So is it a car that was originally destined for export but ended up being registered here? Who knows? Back to Trevor, and the black and white photo this time. On the left we've got one of the early Rover P4s, the Cyclops type, and on the right a magnificent Wolseley 680 from the 1950s. Still with Trevor, and up back to Australia, and we've got an early Series 2 Morris Minor. It's an early one because it's still got the cheese grater grille like the earlier MMs, and the location is Mount Buffalo, and the date 9th of November 1963. First of several photos now in Australia to feature an Austin 1800, or the Land Crab as they became to be known. The location is Ararat, and the date of this particular photo is 1966. Also in 66, October 1966 to be precise, we've got this image here outside the Hastings District Historical Society Museum. And as well as the Austin 1800, we've got a Morris Minor just over on the left there, and to the right a Holden Ute. Fantastic. Third of the photos now featuring this Austin 1800 in Australia. This is near Tamworth, and again October 1966 is the date of this wonderful old photograph. Here's a little favourite of mine. We've got a 4-door standard 10 549 DTU. That's a Cheshire series introduced in 1958. And just visible beyond it is a little Morris Minor Traveller. The location is Birmingham, the date 1960. Going back slightly earlier in time, about 1955 or 1956, this is Bridge Street in Runcorn. Got a variety of cars there. We've got an A40 panel van, a Triumph Renown, there's that a Wolseley or Morris 10 I think in front of it, and a couple of other cars. It's a beautiful car. Now this is actually slightly before the 50s, 60s time frame of this video, but what a great little car. EWM 840, a Minx drophead coupe. This one was photographed in 1956, and that is a Southport registration. What a beautiful little drophead that is. That was the family car, I believe. Here's an interesting shot taken from the back window, presumably of their own car. RVM 460 is a Ford Consul Mark I convertible. Circa 1955, and the location of this exciting photograph is the A6 near Garstang. Look at that petrol station in the background, 4p off. Back to Tony again, and another one of his wonderful old photographs. Here we've got a two-tone Austin A90 Atlantic. I always think it's interesting how they formed the front and the rear screens out of 3 pieces respectively, just to get the curve that they needed. The rear centre window was wind down. To distant shores now, and we've got Solihull in 1959. So Morris Minor on the left there, a couple of Beetles, got a standard 10 on the right, a Morris Minor MM with the cheese grater grille, Mark I Consul, Austin Cambridge, and what's that black car there? Is it a Peugeot? Anyway, this is Watford Gap Services, circa 1961, apparently not long after it opened, I believe. A couple of stalwarts of the British motoring scene there. We've got an A35 van and an Austin Mini Mark I. There's a little beauty here, Mark I Jaguar, or the 2.4, 3.4, depending which engine it had, 861 BTE, that's a Lancashire series introduced in March of 1957, and just visible behind the Jaguar is a Vauxhall L-Type, either the Velox or the Wyvern. Now, 1954 is the year, and the car is an Austin Healey 100. The location is Alton Park Racing Circuit, somewhere I frequent quite often myself. The date is 1954. Alongside the Austin Healey, we've got a Morris 8 Series 2 saloon, and the first meeting was held at Alton Park just the year before, August 1953. Next up, a wonderful little Austin 7 Special, AJO 84. This was Tony's first car in 1957, and it was based and built around the chassis and running gear of a 1934 Austin 7 PD Tourer. And there's an underbonnet view showing the 747cc side valve 4-cylinder engine of the Austin 7. Is that just a reflection, or is that an alloy cylinder head on there? I'm not quite sure. Otherwise things look fairly standard for an Austin 7. Great little car, a lot of fun. Special building was a big deal back in the 1950s and the 1960s. Now, another Peter Scott's photos here. Great colour shot of a 100E Ford Anglia. This was a borrowed car. And that's his mother and sister alongside the little black Ford. Same little Ford, and probably at the same location. Here's Peter's mum and dad with the little black Ford. Crossfly tyres, are they Firestones? Is that Firestone on the sidewall there? Very bonny little car, very popular car back in the 1950s and 1960s. Another family photo of Peter's here. We've got a front end view of the family's Hillman Husky NSF 376. Unfortunately, that would meet a sticky end as the subsequent photos will reveal. Oh dear, the plucky little hillman had a head-on with a Ford 100E Prefect. It's a very sad sight indeed. And one more photo to round out this collection of original photos of British cars in the 1950s and 1960s is another of Peter's colour photos, and on the left is a super rare, possibly even unique, Woody based on an Austin A40 Devon. And that fantastic photo, and indeed fantastic scene, rounds out part 6 in this series of original photos of British cars in the 1950s and the 1960s. If you've not seen the other instalments, the previous 5 instalments of old photographs, black and white, colour, please have a look at the rest of the channel and you'll see them for yourself. I'll include a link here now. Thanks very much for watching. More videos along very, very soon, so bye for now.